One day has passed since the last episode, and the campers are getting to know each other a little more. Gabby, for instance, after turning everyone against her when she was on Team Purple, finally starts making friends and finds common ground with Drew. I know that last time I said I wasn't too fond of him, but Drew kinda grew on me. I guess I underestimated how expressive he can be simply using his notepad. In the meantime, while picking up firewood, Jake goes from obviously flirting with Tom to somehow suddenly talking about his sick grandma and how Miriam reminds him of her. I already know the storyline is gonna be like so super cheesy, and for that, I'm probably gonna love it. Damn it. However, when Tom said Miriam was cooking for the team, I was so very disappointed that we didn't actually get to see her do that. I kinda want her to be a grandma to these 6 teenagers. Later on, Gret goes up to Tom and they make a deal similar to the one they made back in Adventure Camp. Tom agrees to inform Gret in case the boys plan on voting her out, as long as she does the same and informs him in case the girls intend to vote him out instead. And I can't wait to see how Gret is gonna use this against Tom. The poor guy just dug his own grave, because when people offer you a deal in this show, it's usually because it's very convenient for them and extremely inconvenient for you. Next up, we got to Team Purple, where Alec and Ellie realize that they're basically the odd ones out on their team, given how Lil, Ashley, Will, and Nick are now BFFs. So to avoid elimination, the two decide to work together, although it's not really clear to me what they were planning to do. They didn't really strategize in this episode, so if it wasn't for Fiore, then one of those two would have definitely been eliminated. I kinda expected them to try to break up the other alliance, instead they did nothing so far. On the romance front, Gabby starts showing some interest in Ellie and wants to go meet up with her. However, Gret downright forbids it. This storyline kinda reminds me of Total Drama's Dodgebro episode, when Heather didn't want Lindsay to hang out with Tyler.
Hey, why don't you just chill out?
Why don't you dodge this?
Ow!
At this point, we also find out that Gabby suffers from schizophrenia. In fact, we briefly see her hallucinate and talk to the quote-unquote voice in her head, who seems to represent the more assertive and confident side of her personality. Her schizophrenia was also a thing back in Adventure Camp, and it seemed like a huge deal at first, but it didn't really play any kind of role in the grand scheme of things. Hopefully this time they'll expand upon it a bit more, and who knows, it might even be a relevant plot point. It's now challenge time. The campers are gonna have to run up a hill, free some logs, and slide on them while collecting their team's flags. Once they're at the bottom of the hill, they're gonna have to use their logs to build a staircase to reach and grab the final flag. The first team to collect all their flags wins immunity as well as a reward. The challenge itself is great, but I'm not crazy about how everyone just grabs their flags first try, even Miriam. Especially because the episode wasn't even 18 minutes long, so there was totally enough time for some campers to miss their flags, forcing them to repeat the challenge. That would have probably spiced things up. Derek then announces that an immunity totem has been hidden in the forest, so the first thing Fiora does is to go look for it in the middle of the challenge. I mean, that's a pretty good idea, she's not wasting any time, but what excuse is she coming up with? How is she getting her teammates off her back? She tells them she has to pee. I would have freaking snapped at the kid, like, what the hell, we're in the middle of a challenge. Why didn't you go to the bathroom before the game started along with everyone else? But I didn't have to go earlier, just shut up. Anyway, she tells her teammates they can go ahead without her and that she will meet up with them later on. As everyone is running, Dan trips and loses his glasses, so Gabby decides to stop and help him look for them. In doing so, however, she basically instantly comes across the immunity idol, and that sure was quick. You've known about the totem for like 5 minutes and you've already found it, and to think she wasn't even looking for it. An interesting change from the beta version of the season is how in Adventure Camp, Gabby kinda lost her mind when Tom hit a log with an axe. She literally threatened to slice off Tom's head the next time she sees him hurt a tree. But that was not a tree, it was a log. A tree corpse, if you will. He wasn't even hurting a living thing. Why was she so mad at the guy? That honestly made no sense. I'm so glad that scene got removed. Jensen and the hosts then start talking about some mysterious project. So mysterious, in fact, that Jensen has Trevor and Derek remove each and every single scene he appears in from the final cut of the show. Originally, the mystery surrounding Jensen and the host had to do with getting revenge on Chris, but now that Omniscient Cartoons is not connected to Total Drama anymore, they're probably working on a completely different scheme here. We then cut over to Team Purple, who's ready to slide down the hill. However, one person still has to wait for Fiore to come back, and Lil arbitrarily picks Will. Now, if Will told Ashley that he was scared, nay, terrified of sliding on the log, then why the hell did she not go with him and Fiore so she could comfort the guy all the way through the challenge? Did she really think a few words of encouragement would have been enough to make the guy face his mortal fear? Sweet innocent Ashley. At last, Fiore gets to the top of the hill, but because Will is petrified, she loses it and starts yelling and even hitting him.
That does it, asshole! A little girl has more balls than you!
That little girl sure is strong, and she's also on fire. Fiore and Will eventually get to the bottom of the hill, but by then, Team Teal has already won the challenge. I was hoping for the teams to be neck and neck right up to the finish line, but nope, not even close. Team Purple got destroyed this time. I'm glad the Teal team won, because they're my favorites, but this final part of the challenge really wasn't too exciting. You could kinda predict who was gonna lose and who was gonna win. When everyone asks what happened, Fiore starts making up a story about Will yelling, saying delusional things, and basically losing his mind. That was a pretty believable lie, especially because of how Will reacted, but I think the story would have been even more credible if Fiore ran behind Ashley or someone else pretending to be scared of Will during his rant. I guess that would have probably helped the team sympathize with her even more. Nevertheless, the rest of the team sides with Fiore and does not believe a single word Will is saying, and although it's obvious to us, the viewers, that Fiore is the one lying here, logically speaking, it is easier to believe the sweet and innocent looking kid more than the grown man, so I don't really blame them. However, I don't really love how Ashley goes, "Oh, I know a little girl would never do those things, but what? Have you never heard of kids misbehaving, being annoying, and driving adults crazy?" The way she said it makes it seem like all kids are angels and they can never do bad things, when we all know that's not true. Not always, at least. Again, poor, sweet, and innocent Ashley. At the elimination ceremony, everyone casts their votes. Ashley is the only one who votes for Alec, Lil and Will vote for Fiore, and finally Ellie, Alec, Fiore, and Nick all vote for Will. Now, Lil votes for Fiore because she quote-unquote has to. She's part of the alliance after all, so if Will wants Fiore gone, then she has to vote with him. She seems like a woman of her word, so it makes sense. I guess I would have done the same thing. But what's another thing I would have done there? I don't know, maybe talking to the other members of my alliance to decide who to vote for together. You don't want to involve Will in the decision? Sure, go ahead, but at least you three pick who to vote for together. You have an alliance, make the most of it. Also, now I wonder, what do they have to lose by voting out Fiore anyway? After all, the kid is the weakest player on the team, and in case they all later realize Will is, in fact, a crazy man with anger issues who sees things and yells at children, then you can always eliminate him next. Lastly, in the final scene of the episode, at night, Drew sees Tom walking out of the tent, so he either draws or takes notes of what he sees. There's a pretty good chance he saw Tom's face and decided to draw what the guy looks like. Otherwise, I don't really know what else could have caught Drew's attention. Hopefully though, because of this moment, Drew's gonna have a more prominent role in the future, and maybe the fact that he doesn't talk may be a relevant plot point too. So if that's the case, then I take back every single bad thing I said about Drew. Overall, the episode was great. I'd give it an 8 out of 10, but I'm also curious to know your thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments below. And while you're at it, do tell me what's your favorite team and your favorite character as well. For me, it's probably Team Teal and Gabby respectively. I know most people don't really love Gabby, but I think she's the most interesting camper so far. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Ciao!